So hi, it's Mark Lloyd from Property Master Academy, and I'm really pleased to be joined today by Aimee and Jordan, who have been on our mentorship program this year. And I'm just going to ask them a few questions about their experiences. But before I do, guys, perhaps you can just do a quick intro.
Yeah, of course. Thank you for having us. So I'm Aimee, and we're both based in Buckinghamshire, and we are both life partners and business partners in property. So I am a commercial finance broker by day. And Jordan?
I'm a carpenter. So
we do that full time still. So we still work full time, and alongside that, I have a property business, which I'm sure we'll go further into.
Okay, great, fantastic. So perhaps we start off with where were you at before you joined PMA? What was your kind of property journey, if any, at that point?
Yeah, so we originally had been flipping our own houses. So we, in 2017, I think it was, we bought our first house, and I think we accidentally flipped it. So yeah. we bought that as a doer-upper. So Jordan, being a carpenter, was very hands-on. So we felt confident that we could do this property to live in. We got I don't know how much detail you want me to go into, but we started doing that, and we realised then actually that's the property world is a thing, and there is a business to be made there, and it's something that we really enjoyed doing when we did that first one. So we ended up doing that up. We identified a bit of a niche in our market. So we went for sort of first-time buyer market that's affordable homes, but actually have a bit of a luxury spin on them. So we had things like LED strip lighting in the kitchen, sort of fully tiled bathrooms, that sort of thing, didn't we?
Yeah.
And we did. Yeah, we kind of had that niche in our market that no one else was doing. We identified that quite quickly, didn't we? But we didn't. Yeah, we didn't originally buy that property to flip it. It accidentally happened when we realised that once we'd done it or almost done it up, that is possible, and the fact we enjoyed doing it as well. We were like, oh well, let's keep going.
Let's keep going. But I think the thing is with that as well, we actually, when we were looking at houses to buy, we couldn't really afford anything. We had to make quite a lot of sacrifices. So we'd gone to view some properties with our parents, didn't we, to sort of have them on board and see what would be good for us to buy. And one of the things was a shared ownership flat, which we're so happy that we never did. We never bought that, because we'd probably still be there paying someone else to live there, paying a little bit of our mortgage, whatever. And we just weren't happy with doing that. So we ended up relocating from High Wycombe, which is where you were born and sort of lived, didn't you, for most of your life, to Aylesbury, which was basically where our budget could take us, and we couldn't buy anything that was nice and shiny, so we were like, okay, let's buy a crapper and do it up. So it was definitely it's a case of sort of circumstances rather than, okay, we're just going to go out and buy something and do it up and make some money. It was definitely further down the line we found out that it was property's a thing.
Yeah, before that as well, the part of the reason we decided to do the do-upper, as Jordan said, was about the affordability. I was working at the time at Topshop. In retail, the salary was not massive, so I didn't have much of an income. You were still
starting off,
really up in carpentry, and your salary wasn't huge. Jordan also had the back operation when we were saving for our first house as well, which meant he was out of work. He was self-employed as well, so we didn't get paid for that. So we moved in. We were renting originally, weren't we?
Yeah.
And we moved in with Jordan's mum, who has been a massive part of our, I guess, our story, hasn't she? In terms of our just being inspiring in her background, but she allowed us to move into her dining room for 12 months. To allow us to save to purchase a house. And luckily, we lived there during the time where you did have your back operation, because otherwise there would be no income. But we literally lived off beans and toast, didn't we, for 12 months, because we spoke to a mortgage broker at first, And I think our this was only going back to 2017, so it wasn't that long ago. It was 5-6 years ago, and the amount that he thought we could afford on a mortgage was 70,000. And now Buckinghamshire isn't the cheapest place in the country. It's probably one of the most expensive places in the country. So we just couldn't get anything with that, could we? Couldn't even get a flat with that. So we just had to keep saving, building, and also working harder as well in our jobs to then be able to afford a larger mortgage to get a better property. So we eventually managed to get our mortgage. I think I ended up getting probably double that.
Yeah, near enough. But I think we went a long stretch to get it. You know, we put our butts into gear, didn't we?
Our heart
to
and
get
soul,
it.
yeah.
But yeah, that was sort of the very start of it. But it wasn't for the reasons we now know.
Yeah. We thought at that time, oh well, you have to work really hard in a job to then afford to purchase the property and all of that. And yeah, fast forward, which we'll go into more detail about during the mentorship, but our mindset was completely different then. But we got a little bit of a bug for doing up property and selling it because we realised that that's something that you can do, and you can do it alongside your work as well as you're doing that.
Yeah, I think it's worth mentioning as well. Actually, we never finished the refurb, did we? Until we'd done a little bit of we bought the place, we'd done some work, we hadn't done it all up. And
just the kitchen left.
It was the kitchen left. We don't know how we actually afforded the refurb to start with anyway. It just happened. We did it. And then you came back from it. It was a networking event or something, wasn't it? That you...
Yeah, so I worked in marketing. I moved to marketing after retail, and one of my clients was a property investor, and I was organising, doing all the marketing for this webinar. And I sat on the webinar so I could see what was happening. And she was talking about things like rent to rent. She was talking about flipping, and I ran downstairs after and was like, Jordan, you know what we're doing here? This could be a possibility of us actually doing this as a business. So that's when we both sat down and was like, right, let's get that kitchen done. Let's get on the market. And that's
we did. We got an estate agent round to value it before the kitchen was done. We said, right, what is it worth with it without the kitchen done and with the kitchen done? And they gave us some figures, but we kind of already knew because we'd looked on Rightmove and we'd done a bit of due diligence previously. But we kind of needed the estate agent to verify it. But when he didn't verify it, we were like, okay, well, we actually know that this will go for more if we did the kitchen. So credit cards came out, just went for it. Said, right, let's get this kitchen done. And then, yeah.
Okay. So, all right. So you got the bug. How did you come across PMA, and what made you interested in what we were offering?
Yeah. I think we'd obviously we did another property after that, and that property we took a lot more seriously. That was
a much bigger project. There was some roofing stuff that needed to be done on that and everything.
Yeah, full back to brick basically, and I think up to that point we'd started educating ourselves a little bit. We'd been looking at YouTube. Was it at that point that we'd looked at Goliath? Some other companies,
just like online ones.
So yeah, we were sort of aware at that point that this was a thing, and had looked at some other sort of educational stuff, but a lot of it is regurgitated and generic. Sort of, you kind of see their sales tactics or whatever it is that they're trying to sort of pitch you. And none of it ever really felt right to me anyway. Then when we went up to, I think it was the business show.
The property investor show.
Yeah. We obviously came across yourself, Mark, doing your speech. And there was some things in there that we'd never heard. And when you've got sort of an arena of people that all say the same thing, when someone else says something that's different and that puts a different light bulb in your head, I think that was the point where we thought, okay, these guys know more than the rest of the people on this stage, sort of thing.
It didn't feel pressured either, where you get that when you go into some of the other sort of courses. Kind of, you see that they're withholding information and they're avoiding answering some questions, that sort of thing. But just in terms of that point of where we felt like we need to speak to these guys, is because when we sold the last run that we did, that was literally, I think we finished it in about March 2020. Everyone knows what happened in March 2020. And obviously the market completely changed pretty much overnight. Everything was taking a little bit longer. There was a lot of uncertainty, and we felt like we needed a team on board outside of ourselves to help us through that, because we had had our little strategy that we'd been doing and that we were comfortable with our market, but then our market completely changed and everything changed really. And we were getting more understanding of other strategies, but we just didn't know how to implement them or have the confidence to. So we were at the point where we knew we needed some help with that. But it was finding the right person to help us, or the right team to help us. So when we came across you guys at the Property Investor Show, we then signed on to your 2-day masterclass, which was an endless, it could have gone on for 5 days or so, I reckon, because of the amount of information you get out of it. It's it's good, but you didn't go away feeling, it's just that you're not going to get any value from it, which is why we then decided to work with Property Master Academy on the 12th month to help us through that.
So what was it about the program that made you sign up? Why did you do it? I mean, there's a multitude of companies out there. What was it about ours that made you sign up?
I think it was the initial sort of the different things that we'd heard from you guys that didn't. So it was from the initial start where we'd done all of this sort of online training or free training as well. We did a bit of a mixture of paid and free, but it was just all the same, and we just felt like we needed more, and we felt like we needed a mentor rather than just a training course, because we'd learned a lot of stuff. We had a lot of information that we were processing already. We needed someone to actually help us action that and give us their knowledge and experience for us to then go ahead with a strategy, with a business plan, and go for it with confidence. So that's what attracted us to the mentorship with Property Master Academy, is that we didn't feel like you would get that with other companies.
Okay, so you joined us in January 22. What's happened next? What's happened?
Goodness, no, I think from the first month we were right in there. We obviously started off by writing our business plan, which we got done quite quickly. It just allowed us to really think about what we want to do and what our goals were, because it's potentially something we hadn't really thought about that much before, or we had, but it was actually putting in a plan in place. So we did that first. There was things we would never have done. Like we went, I think within our first couple of weeks, we went networking, and then we went to see some vendors that were looking to sell 4 properties in a plot. It was just, we would never. We
were sat in somebody's living room that we'd never met.
With a cup of tea, like.
Cup of tea that we was introduced to by someone we'd met at a networking event, and they wanted to knock down the whole run of houses and build a block of something like 80 flats or something ridiculous on that sort of plot. And I remember we were sat out in the van, weren't we, at the time. We were thinking, what the hell are we actually doing sat here?
Yeah, but the good thing is we wouldn't have done that before.
We would never have done that.
The fact we were able to call you, Mark, and say, so we're going to see these people. What sort of things do we need to ask, or like we need to find out? It's potentially not something that we would have pursued anyway, but it was a great learning experience because we just wouldn't have done that before.
Have done it, yeah.
Just being put outside your comfort zone, but having the confidence to be outside your comfort zone I think that was probably the second week we did that.
Yeah.
Which was just mind blowing. There's obviously been a lot of things happening. So we've been doing a lot of viewings. We've been doing a lot of marketing for rent. So our 12-month goal was to build our cash flow. And I think in March, we had started having some success from our rent-to-rent letters. So we went to see a landlord. So this is probably one of the first rent-to-rent meetings that we actually went to. So I went to meet this landlord in Gloucestershire, and yes, that was in March, and that ended up being a success in that.
Yeah.
So he's got quite a lot of properties. So we went to see this, what we thought was a 12-bed HMO, but it ended up being a block of 12 flats. So we went to see that again. Would not have done that before, because we would have just run away. I think we would have.
Well, we probably, to be honest with you, I think we did do a letter campaign before PMA, small one,
maybe very small, yeah.
And I think it's the consistency. So we wouldn't have got to the point of meeting him, because after week 3, we probably would have gone, it's not working, what they say on YouTube and things isn't true. It doesn't happen. It's just a way of getting you to pay for courses or something. But after, so that was probably the reason, because we were like, right, okay, these guys were telling us, get on with it, keep sending letters, keep doing the things you need to do, was how we ended up actually going up there.
Yeah, because it was actually the second letter that he had received until he contacted us. So had we have not sent that second letter, he probably wouldn't have contacted us. So yeah, I went to go and see him, and then we were back and forth with conversations, put our offer forward. Obviously got rejected, the first one, but we renegotiated with him on a few things, and we ended up getting that one. So that was a big first deal to do for rent to rent.
Yeah.
But we finally, so the conversation went on for quite long. It was end of August, we ended up taking it on. The landlord was doing the refurbishment on that, so it was quite slow, the refurbishment. So it was August when we took that on, and so far so good. Yeah,
no real issues. I think it would have been different if it was a 12-bed HMO, if they were all sharing very close proximity things, but the fact that it's individual flats, they mainly keep themselves to themselves. It works nicely.
Yeah, so having been working full time, that's taken up a lot of our time over the last few months. But we got that filled fairly quickly. And now we've been working on some other things. So we've got a purchase going through at the moment of a 1-bedroom flat in Leighton Buzzard, and that will be turned into a 2-bed, and hopefully a serviced accommodation unit. So that'll be our first serviced accommodation. And then we've got a few other things in the pipeline. So we've got another rent-to-rent deal with the same landlord that we're going to see in January. And then there's some other rent-to-rents as well that we're looking at the moment.
Okay. So how do you feel about your progress?
A little bit still I still don't believe it.
Yeah, I think we always knew that this is what we wanted to do, and it was always in our heart that we were going to do it. But I was thinking about this the other day, actually, looking back a year ago to where we are now is where we wanted to be. Like for the last couple of years, is where we wanted to be, is where we're at now.
Yeah, there's always been those roadblocks, maybe probably within ourselves, that we've given ourselves those roadblocks. So I think your worst enemy is yourself. So having a group, with our mentorship group, I think the support there's incredible, obviously from you and Jackie, and just the group, because everyone's doing something different. So it gives you a bit of inspiration, a bit of motivation to know that other people, because it's not easy at all, but to know that other people are also struggling with certain things, or you hear about other people's challenges, and that gives you a bit of reflection on, okay, well, they're having those challenges, I'll note that down for next time to try and avoid that. So it really works in that way.
Okay. So during the year, were there any major roadblocks, issues, and if there were, how did you get over those?
Stress levels. No. Major issues.
I think probably, I mean, when it is that consistency. So it's the case of you do have times where you feel like, oh, why is no one contacting me, or this, that, the other. So there's those roadblocks which everyone feels, and that's part of that group, is being able to express that. And then for other people to go, oh no, I know what you mean, but then someone else has a win and you feel that win as well, which is really helpful, and keeps you really motivated. I think the other not roadblocks, but is just the time issue, which we always come across, and everyone has an issue with time, especially when you're working full time as well. But obviously, a lot of our time was spent on that one deal, because it was such a large deal. And it had to be done right. So that was probably the other roadblock. It kind of dried up our initial pipeline, didn't it? But we've pulled that back now, and we're carrying on. And
I would say as well, taking on that size deal, so the 12 flats. I think whenever I say 12 flats, I'm like 12 flats. So that was a roadblock in terms of. We wanted to get started, but I don't know. Without the mentorship, I don't think we would never have done 12 flats, because that would have scared the life out of us.
Yeah, it would have.
But I think being able to sit around that table, like you say, being able to sit around the table and hear other people doing what they're up to, and bounce ideas off each other, and it gives you a sense of capability where you think, okay, well, I've just got to go for it. I can do this, and actually, everybody else is getting on with stuff, so let's get on with stuff.
Okay, great. So what's your goal for the next 12 months then?
Well, I think we're going to continue building our cash flow.
Yeah.
It would be quite nice to obviously step more into property as well, either one of us, both of us, or a mixture of both. So it'll probably be one of us.
You.
Well, I don't know. We don't know yet, but we're just going to keep building. Our focus is going to just be to keep building that cash flow, because I think we need a bit of a. But I mean, technically, that one deal could allow me to leave my job.
Yeah.
But if anything was to go, if someone was to not pay their rent or something, then there might be a bit of a struggle. So it's just building that extra buffer on top of our monthly income. And whilst we can as well, we're managing it okay at the moment, also working. So whilst we can, we'll continue working. But yeah, it's just building that cash flow, getting more rent-to-rent deals.
I think alongside that as well is building our own portfolio. So the one in Leighton Buzzard, it's not particularly in terms of rent-to-rent, the power of that compared to the one in Leighton Buzzard. Leighton Buzzard's probably not that amazing as a cash flow property, but it's more to add to our portfolio to start building that alongside the cash flow. So I think going forward this year is going to be a mixture of both, trying to get the cash flow up and also purchasing stuff for the long term. Yeah,
because that particular one we won't leave a huge amount of money in it, and then we can test the water on the service accommodation there as well.
Okay, all right. So last question: what would you recommend people do if they're in a similar situation to yourself?
Now or 12 months ago?
12 months ago.
I would say go to the 2-day course and be open-minded about everything that you're going to listen to, you're going to hear. Take it all in. Take a little bit of time to reflect on them 2 days, and if it's something you're interested in, if you're thinking about it, just go for it.
Yeah, and I think also it's really easy to get stuck into a bit of a trap or hide behind education. So I think there's two different types of education. There's obviously the actual learning piece, but then it's also the taking action, which a lot of what we found is I felt like we've started to hide behind training, where we're kind of trying to take as much in as possible, but without actually taking any action. So then you get a bit fed up because obviously there's no action being done. You're not getting any further, but you've got a head full of information that you should be processing. So I think it's very easy to do that. So don't hide behind education, and actually have the team in place to help you move forward rather than try and do it yourself.
Brilliant. All right, thanks, guys. So there you go. That's a little bit from Aimee and Jordan. Now, if you've enjoyed this brief video, please hit the like button so that other people just like you can view this video, and also subscribe to our channel. The course, the 2-day course that Jordan mentioned, will be links in the text below this video. So click on that and it'll take you through to our webpage and it'll explain an awful lot more. But the next course is actually coming up in January, so you need to be quick. And that said, we're done. So thanks, guys. Enjoy the rest of your evening.
Thank you.
Thank you.